Welcome, everybody, to the WFM Show, where work just works. The bird is the word, and I'm coming to you from our offices in not-so-sunny London. It's a big day today here at Quinix as we release Volume 5 of the State of the Frontline Workforce Report, where we survey over 12,000 employees annually around the globe. And extra, read all about it. The big headline for this year's report is 1 in 2 workers want to quit. And today, based on all the data in this report, we're unpacking why. You'll walk away with an understanding of what's causing disengagement and quitting. And we're unpacking the why pay is just so important and how to motivate employees alongside it. And we're going to be diving into attitudes toward the future of tech, because employee experience is king and its castle is tech. With me today is Stacy Huffstetler, Director of Operations in North America. Stacy is a pioneer in workforce management and leads our teams in North America, where workforce technology meets real life, getting into the hands of employees through implementation and feedback through support and success. But Stacy, what we really want to know is, were you a frontline worker?
Yes, I was.
What did you do?
I was a server and a hostess at a restaurant for many, many years.
And was it stressful?
It was incredibly stressful. I learned a lot about managing multiple competing priorities from customers, managing stressful situations, how to juggle, think on my feet. Really challenging.
I did the same thing. I was a server at a pizza chain in the South of the US, and competing priorities was the big thing for me. I just couldn't do it. As much as I need that in my daily life, I was on my feet all day and could not figure out when I should put in the orders versus go to another table and take their orders. I was terrible. It was the most stressful job I've ever had. So that's where the bird...
I did drop a tray of drinks on someone one time. I will say that.
Okay, I didn't do that. I did not do that. Awesome. So that's where the word from the bird starts today. The frontline worker continues to be stressed more than ever. And every year in our report, it seems to get worse and worse. 5% from last year may not seem like a big change, but we're not trending in the right direction. And so what's causing it? So of the top 3 stressors, pay was picked the most. Immediately our minds go to rate of pay. But Stacy, like what is pay?
Yeah, it's such a great question. There's so much more to pay than just the rate of pay. It's also about that total paycheck, right? And how do you get to your total paycheck? That's through just having consistent hours. So knowing what you're going to earn week over week and matching that with the ability to have your preferences met so that you can earn those hours at the time that work for your life. Like if you're constantly getting scheduled for shifts that don't match up with your childcare needs, that's not going to, help you get to that total paycheck. You might have to miss those shifts. You might have to trade those shifts with someone else.
Yeah, it's very much matches the thought leadership of Lisa Disselkamp, who I love to refer to as the queen of WFM. She's going to be on the show this summer, and she describes it as income as well. Like the schedule is income. It's exactly what you just said. Enough hours, right hours, balancing my own priorities so that I can make sure I show up for those shifts and can actually handle things outside of life so I get that full amount in the paycheck that I really need to move through. So how does that compare with our previous reports?
So this was an interesting one as well, because previously, the last 2 years, we had seen frontline workers reporting that flexibility was their biggest ask, that lack of flexibility was actually causing them the most stress. And in this report this year, we saw that drop by actually 30%. So now folks reporting that they are stressed due to lack of flexibility is significantly down from what we've seen in years past.
What do you think it implies? Like what's kind of that, maybe the root cause?
Yeah, in some ways, right, our entire economy and culture has really shifted to more flexible ways of working across the board. And to some extent, as companies move to more and more flexibility, that actually ties into potentially less predictability and less ability to, just what we were talking about, the schedule as income. So If you have more flexibility, then you're not necessarily going to be working the same shifts week over week and have that predictable income.
Interesting. Okay, so as I'm thinking about like how operators should tackle this, if I'm building my whole strategy for how I should maybe tackle these problems of feeling pay is not enough, not covering my expenses. Lisa also did some research with Deloitte to say like 80% of the schedule is predictable. And we should plan around that and give that amount of predictability back to the employees. So what types of technology like aid in that conversation?
Yeah, so there's a few things there, and this is one of the places where technology can be a really powerful driver. Because when I think about this from the employer point of view, we're asking a lot. We're asking for, consistent schedules that meet people's preferences, that match business need, and that's, that they're also still flexible because people do still want flexibility. They're just not as stressed out about it. So how do we accomplish all of those things together at the same time? And that's where we really see some of the power of things like AI-driven demand forecasts to give you an idea of what is coming from a workload point of view, and then leveraging algorithms to create a schedule that matches that demand, but also looks at employee preferences, that also looks at contract hours and preferred hours, and that's something that can holistically take all of these things into account so that when you do put out a schedule, it meets these multiple competing goals.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, like we think of the paycheck as a retroactive type of problem. Like, did we give them enough rate of pay, or did they work the hours they were supposed to? We can plan for that a little better in the schedule to give employees what they need, but it takes that technology to understand what they need. So our next big contributor in the 1 in 2 workers want to quit was lack of recognition. So Stacy, I see you, I acknowledge you, but let me hear you on this one.
Thanks, Jack. That means so much to me. Recognition, so important to everyone. But if you think about a large, diverse population of frontline workers, within one business, across all businesses, how do you connect with those people? How do you reach out to them so that they do feel appreciated, so that they feel heard? Like if they have a request for time off, how do you respond to that in a quick, expedient, appropriate way? How do you make sure they have their schedule in their hands so that when things do change, they know, immediately, or they can easily reference it? And so we just see a lot of that coming together in technology, that if you can have communication and engagement embedded within your workforce management platform, then you can do all of these things together in one place and also avoid employees going to multiple different apps for multiple different things, which can also kind of hurt their overall experience.
Yeah, so it sounds like recognition is not just, you did a good job, but it's recognizing who I am and what my needs are apart from just my performance. It's like I am a parent. I need to be recognized that I am a parent, and things are going to be a little bit different for me when it comes to when I can work in a more modern world. I love that. So what about the technology side of all of that? Like, are people excited about it?
Yeah, this is one of the things that came out of our survey pretty clearly, is that on average, frontline workers are positive about the future of technology, and that it will impact their jobs in a positive way. And we were really glad to see this number. There's often a lot of discussion out there about like AI and how that can be a big, scary, unknown thing, especially when we're thinking about generative AI and chat GPT and how's that going to change our world. But a lot of the technology that we're talking about today is just enabling people to connect more easily, like we were just talking about on the last slide. It's about getting the right hours for the right people at the right time. And a lot of that can be very seamlessly integrated into your business.
Yeah, and this is just the positive number. If we take into the account from the survey people that were neutral, and frontline employees that were neutral on the potential of technology, this jumps up to 86%. So only about 14% of our over 12,000 to 13,000 respondents said, only 14% said they were negative on it. So a lot of them are just figuring out what the waters are, which is a good thing. We can capitalize on that, on the types of technology that we give. But like, why do you think this was so positive in retrospect?
I think just going even back to flexibility and how that's been enabled for a lot of workers out there. I think people see the power and impact of being able to have that seamless communication, and just like also the idea of the peer-to-peer digital communication, right? So like, how can I easily connect with my coworker too? If I would like to swap a shift with you, I don't need to have your phone number and send you a text message. If we have a platform that supports this, that is the idea. Like, that's the technology that people are seeing out there and that they're getting excited about. It's just that ease of communication, also ease of hearing from their manager and leadership when there is something exciting happening. Like, how does all that come together for them? I think that's what folks are seeing out there that they're excited about.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's more than just AI. And frontline workers recognize that AI is not just coming for their jobs. There's so much that is there for technology to enable them in a positive way. Awesome. So in the survey, the positives that frontline workers were able to multi-select in their answers. So what are all these things that are positive? It kind of corroborates what you just described, that it's, we think it'll help us get our work done more effectively and efficiently. And we believe that it will improve the quality of their jobs and really their lives, as we talk about this flexibility and being recognized, not just for my work, but what I do outside of my work. So, yeah. So what was our favorite answer to this survey?
Our favorite answer was that using 2 cups connected by a string would be smarter than what my company uses. We both have little kids, and so we had a good chuckle about this, just imagining, having a conversation through 2 cups and a string rather than, over a digital platform.
My immediate thought to this one when I heard it was, everybody, I don't know, maybe this is an American thing, but everybody standing in an art gallery thinking, my kid could have made that, or a 5-year-old could have made that. And
Right.
3/4 of frontline workers feel that way about their current technology that they're provided by their employers, which is not good.
Right, exactly. And from this, I think we see, especially looking at the last slide in juxtaposition with this one, we see that they're not necessarily happy with the current state, but they believe in the potential for the future. They see it out there. Maybe they see their friends or family members using technology that they'd like to use. They've read about something that they're excited about. So they're positive, but they don't have it yet today.
Yeah, I love that. Don't like it, but hopeful for the future. So breaking down what they use across 12,000 and 13,000 respondents. So if they're not using paper cups to resort to communication, they use Snapchat. And so, Stacy, when 2 coworkers are communicating with Snapchat, what comes to mind?
Right. Yeah. As like a, older millennial, just an HR nightmare is my first thought on that.
Yeah, I see HR nightmare. I think of just like the teenagers that are, sending things. It's like, I want this to be deleted after I send it.
Correct. The whole idea is that it disappears, right? And so I think this just goes to show, if you don't provide a means for your employees to communicate, they are going to find their own way. And that communication may or may not be in line with the company culture that you would like to set. We see a lot in unmonitored, when we review unmonitored chats and communications, we often do see inappropriate communication at one level or another. And so this is where you need the ability to control and monitor this communication. You need to let your employees flag to you if they've received communication that they don't feel comfortable with. That type of stuff is just really, really important here. And if it's happening all offline, then you just don't know.
Yeah. So like, if we don't give it to them, they're going to find a way to do it. And they're hopeful about it. Like, this goes back to the 2 cups. If I'm using 2 cups connected by a string, well, Snapchat's way better, and it's free And if I'm Gen Z or I'm a millennial, I'm likely using it maybe for my own personal way of doing things. And so they're going to find a way. They're hopeful about the future, so they're going to go do it themselves. So it sounds like we should be providing these for frontline workers so that they can communicate within your business in a safe way, which I think brings us to our takeaways for today. So, this year in the global report, the employees feel like the grass is greener everywhere. We saw a lot, and you'll be able to read this right afterwards, after this webinar, but we saw a lot of employees feel, I've got the skills. I can take these skills anywhere and I'll likely be happier somewhere else. 50%. They can hop that fence easily. Modern tech is a way to enable motivation within your frontline workers if you can't raise the pay rates themselves. There's so many facets to that, as you explained, Stacy. There's capturing when you would like to work, feeling like I'm recognized for who I am and what I am outside of work, and bringing my best self to work is a way to motivate employees. And then, employees do not like their current tech and they're using Snapchat. That's at the bottom of the list, but that's still, it's still one of the ones that made the top. 13% is pretty bad. So as our takeaways for today, these are what we hope you can learn from the report. And as we look to close this webinar, thank you so much, Stacy. For those who are on, you will on our webinar link, you will be immediately directed to the report to read it yourself. And if you're on LinkedIn watching this, it will be right down in the comments. Thank you, Stacy, so much for sharing your experience. I had a lot of fun today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been a blast. Have a great day.
Cool. Burr is the word. Pidge and Stacy out.